Today I am excited to share with you a really cute painting project to create a little spring lamb. For this cute little lamb, we're also going to use a very special tool. It is a cotton ball, so you'll need some cotton balls to get a fuzzy lamb texture. And we're going to use some paints and a few different sizes of paintbrushes. So if you have all of your materials, let's get started. Now for the background, I have a piece of paper that I've already painted with a really nice background, and this has dried. If you do not want to use a painted paper background, you could do this on a piece of color construction paper. I'm going to start with my larger round brush, and if you don't want to go right in with paint, then you could use a piece of chalk and first draw this out, but I'm going to be brave, go right in with paint, and we're going in with white paint. So I'm going to dip my brush into the white paint, and I'm starting with the top of the little lamb's head, which is going to be really kind of round and fluffy. So we're just going to kind of paint almost like making a cloud shape. And it doesn't have to be perfect, but that's going to be the start of the lamb, just sort of this really fluffy shape. And then its little head is going to be underneath, and it's going to be this sort of U shape. And this is why it's nice to use a already painted or color background, because now you can go right in with the white. Okay, and then its body is also going to be fluffy. So a little cloudy, fluffy shape. And it needs fluffy ears. So we'll give it some fluffy ears. So now I've got the outline of my sheep painted, and I'm going to go back in and just paint in everything. So I'm painting in first the face or head area, and this might take more than one coat of white paint depending on the paint you're using. Some paint is thicker, some brands are thinner. This paint, to me, it looks like it's going to need another coat of paint, and that is totally fine. Very few sheep have fleece that is white as snow naturally while they're hanging around on the farm. So what we're going to do is take our brush, which already has white on it. We're not going to clean it for this particular part. We're going to just dip it in to some brown paint. And now in my paint palette, I have an empty well in between the white and the brown, and I'm going to put that in there and then add a little more white to it. And what I'm doing is just kind of getting a little bit more of an off white or a tan, and I'm going to use that to change the wool, the fluffy fleece of my sheep, to a little bit more of a tan. And maybe not the whole thing is tan, because, you know, probably started out nice and fluffy and white, but hanging around on the farm, it's a little dusty and musty and dirty there, and they might have gotten into some dirt, so that's why some parts of it could be a little bit tan. Part that I do want to go darker now is going to be the sheep's face. So that is definitely going to need a little bit more of that brown. A lot of time sheep might have a different color around their face, so I am going to give my sheep more of a a tan shape, a tan color than the white that it was. So we're going to go in and just paint in the sheep's face. And now I want even more white paint on this brush because I'm going to go in with the white more so around the edges. And I know you're thinking, that is so thick, that is a lot of paint. And yes, it is a lot of paint. But there is a reason. And I will show you that. All right, and now this is why. We are going to use our tool, our special tool, the cotton ball. And we want it to be fluffy. If you can get jumbo cotton balls, that's even better, but we can make it even a little more jumbo just by pulling it a little bit. And now I'm going to use this and I'm going to blot the paint to get extra fluffiness. Okay, so I'm going to get my large brush out of the way because I want to switch over to a smaller brush. And now we're going to get started on a really cute, really fun spring flower that's just going to be on the sheep's head. So we're doing that so that the middle part can dry, and up here we're going to go in and paint a spring flower. And it's okay if this stays a little wet and mixes, that's totally fine. And if we want to get a little fancy, we're getting a little fancy now, everyone. This is the fancy. You can go back in. And add some light white parts. Okay, now I'm going to switch to using the end of my paintbrush. I'm going to dip that into some yellow. And again, we're just getting a little fancy with some details. And then we're going into the orange. Just a little bit of orange in the middle. Okay, so now that's our flower. And we're going to switch to a flat brush because our flower needs a few leaves. Not a lot of leaves, just a few. So I'm going into the green. And just where I see like a little bit of an opening, gonna give it a little bit of a green leaf. And then I'm gonna go into the yellow. Just lighten up my leaf a little bit. All right, so that is my pretty spring flower. And now I have some choices. I can go and use a cotton swab, that would work fine. I could use the end of the paintbrush, that would work fine too. I'm going to use the cotton swab for this just because, show you one more thing you could do. And now I want to add to my sheep, because that's pretty close to dry. I'm going to use this as a drawing tool, try not to get my hand in the wet paint, and just draw a few curves. Okay. Alright, so that's with the cotton swab. If you have a cotton swab anyway, you could break off part of the swab and use a skinnier end, which is even skinnier than the end of the paintbrush. So we'll go with that. And then we're going to sort of pull out some little eyelashes. And then just make sure that you do the same thing to the other side. And then a little mouth. The cotton swab can be thrown away. Then using another cotton ball, we can give this little lamb some rosy cheeks. I'm going to use this cotton ball and make a really rosy pink with some white and magenta. And now using that cotton ball, I'm going to just go and give her 2 cute little rosy cheeks. And there is my spring sheep. And now for the part that I said we would use some oil pastel. So we'll bring those back, and this is totally optional, but if you feel like it and you want to make this even more springy, you can go in with some oil pastels. And then just add some little spring details like a butterfly could be added. That's always fun. Alright, so there we go. That is our spring lamb painted and then some butterflies added. I hope you had fun making this with me.